The only thing that we're interested in is putting money in your wallet. If you want to bet the fights, if you want to have a little bit of action, you are in the right place. With my partner, Ian Parker, I am Brett Okamoto.
We're ready to rock between our parlays, our props, our straight picks. It's time to make money. Let's go.
The UFC is back in the familiar confines of Las Vegas, its home city, which will play host to UFC Fight Night on Saturday, a middleweight matchup between Roman Dolidze and Nassourdine Imavov. And we are here to discuss it all again at UFC Best Bets from a gambling perspective. Hello, everybody. I am Brett Okamoto alongside Ian Parker. After a week off, we are back talking about all the fights, trying to make you some money as we did 2 weeks ago. In the first pay-per-view of 2024, we were up there in frigid Toronto. We saw a great fight between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis. We handed out our bets. Ian, how did we do at UFC? What was it now, man? I'm running out. UFC 297. They are all blurring together. How did we do at UFC 297?
You've been doing this a really long time, so it's okay if you don't get the number right away. I totally forgive you for that. You know what? Not only was the weather super cold, unfortunately, so was I, but so were the judges. We went 2-4 with our best bets. Magny Malott was supposed to be Mike Malott in over 1.5 rounds. Malott was dominating until he gassed out, got finished in the last 17 seconds, which really stinks for us because that would have been a nice plus 150 cash. Curtis Barrel over 2.5 rounds. That was as easy as it gets. Movsar Evelev by decision was our prop tonight. We hit that there. Brad Katona, I did not agree with that decision. Maybe I'm on my own there. I thought he won that fight. Ceedy, I did not understand that split decision loss as well. And Johan Lainais, that might have been one of my worst plays. He just did not look prepared. He looked awful in that fight. But we almost hit the long shot parlay if Barriel would have got that split decision. Very bizarre. If you're Canadian, maybe you don't want to fight in Canada because the judges were just not on your side that night.
Yeah, it was very, very, very close fights, very competitive fights, and some split decisions that unfortunately didn't go our way. That's how it's going to go. Some of them are going to go our way. Some of them are not. Hopefully, if we have any this weekend, they will go our way at this UFC Fight Night card, which you can catch on ESPN Plus at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. As I mentioned before, the number 8 ranked Roman Dolidze, an underdog to the number 11 ranked Nassourdine Imavov. You also got a pretty fire lightweight bout there between Renato Moicano and Drew Dober. This middleweight division, man, I would say that it's maybe arguably the most entertaining, most exciting division in the sport right now with what Sean Strickland has done. And then this fight between Du Plessis, you've got obviously the return of Adesanya. Everybody's waiting for that. And then Khamzat Chimaev always sort of lurking there. These are two important names here in the middleweight rankings, though. Again, you have Roman Dolidze at number 8, Nassourdine at number 11. Both of these guys have shown some flashes of some really high-level stuff in their UFC careers. Kind of looking for that first big-time signature win. Each of them, there's a chance for it here in a main event. What do you think of the odds? Imavov, again, a minus 170 favorite.
You know what? It makes sense to me. You got someone in Roman Dolidze when he entered the UFC, more of a leg lock guy, grappler, would get his TKOs on top. Knocked out Phil Hawes, defeated Jack Hermanson after that, and then he dropped a loss to Marvin Vettori, which I kind of see as the blueprint for Imavov here. Imavov, very good footwork, good striker, high IQ fighter, good takedown defense. But one thing that is going to, I think, stand out, it's going to be his cardio here. We know he can go 5 rounds. He fought Sean Strickland. Even though he lost, he was never really in any trouble. He didn't lose because he gassed out. It was just that Sean was the better man that night. Roman has not been past the 3 rounds. I'm very curious to see where that goes. And, with Dolidze, he's a power puncher. He relies on not so much the volume, but the physicality and the strength of the punches. Imavov is not an easy guy to finish. Neither is Dolidze. I think we're going to see a very long, drawn-out fight. As the fight goes on, I expect Imavov to take over. And that's why for my play here, I'm going to lean Imavov. But my stronger play, I'm going over 2.5 rounds.
So we got to lean on Imavov, but he's at minus 170. And I gotta say that from a value perspective, I do think that you're probably not. There may be some value to be had on Roman Dolidze because honestly, we just talked about the judges. I actually thought Roman Dolidze outpointed Marvin Vettori in his last fight. And to your point, he was not doing so with leg locks. He was actually fighting a style in which Marvin Vettori should have had an advantage, and I honestly didn't think he did. About half of the people who were observing that fight, when you look at social media and you talk to people around it, it was a very, very close fight, and it was kind of a fight, again, that was played in the style of Marvin Vettori. So here, I do wonder what his strategy will be, Ian. He fought Marvin Vettori in a way that maybe he didn't think he was going to be able to get Vettori down. In this one, does he go back to his bread and butter? Does he try to get the takedown? Is that why you like the over 2.5? What is your confidence level at the over 2.5 here?
Well, I love the over 2.5, mainly based on the durability of both fighters. Dolidze is a difficult guy to finish, and so is Imavov. And I don't see Imavov getting caught by a punch and knocking him out. He just moves way too much. So I really love that over 2.5. And I don't disagree with what you're saying. The main event the fight between Vettori and Dolidze was close. But I think if he fights that same way, Imavov, I think, is a better striker. I think he's a smarter fighter. I think he'll get the win if he fights that way.
Okay, let's move on to this 155 co-main event, which could really steal the show. I mean, both these guys are no stranger to stealing the show. You got Renato Moicano, a minus 190 favorite over Drew Dober. Moicano, we didn't get to see him last year in 2023. He was supposed to fight Arman Zarouki, and that fight fell through. Drew Dober, 4-1 in his last 5. He is a guy who I feel like has performed, exceeded expectations at times as an underdog. What do you think of him here at plus 160 against Moicano?
I think a lot of people are going to probably jump on Drew Dober. The number keeps going up on Renato Moicano, and let me tell you why. Because the reason is that Drew Dober, look, he beat Ricky Glenn. Glenn's not a world beater here. He got knocked out by Frivola, where he was the favorite. But in Moicano's fought top-level competition. He has been finished before. There's no question. He's a little bit chinny. But where he really excels is that ground game. A lot of his wins come by rear naked choke. He's going to have the reach here. If he doesn't get into a battle, doesn't get into a war, fights in a phone booth, he brings his fight to the floor. I think Dober's going to be looking at a submission loss here if he can't land early. I like Moicano here. Even at this number, any higher, I would probably stay away because he's been out for a little bit and Dober still has that monster left hand. But Moicano really overall is the better fighter. He should get this win. He's got the apex too. Smaller cage usually favors grapplers. Let's go with, what does he call himself? More money Moicano. I like that for this one.
All right, let's go with Moicano, but only at minus 190. If he starts creeping up any further than that, Ian says lay off. Let's take a look at the rest of this 6-fight main card on ESPN Plus. Go ahead and run us through the rest of your picks, Ian.
You got it. Randy Brown, Muslim Salikov. I think this fight's going to go all 3. I'm going over 2.5 rounds here. Natalie Silva, the spotlight's going to be on her. I like minus 3.5 points, meaning I think she's going to sweep on the scorecards or get it done inside the distance. That's going to also be the long shot prop of the night. I'm going to take a shot at her to win by submission. Prior to the UFC, that's where she got most of her wins. She's been doing great on the feet. However, Araujo's got a monster power for this weight class. Silva will have an advantage if this fight goes to the ground. I like her there. Next, I was surprised here that Muradov is at plus 125. I understand his opponent came in, looked really good against Dennis Tilluen, but that's against Dennis Tilluen. Muradov has fought better fighters. He's gone against grapplers like Kyle Bajo, and he has survived. I think there's value in him as underdog. And last but not least, Gilbert Urbina. Brett, I've said this so many times, over minus 200. And for some reason, when I do pick them, they lose. However, he really is better everywhere in this fight over Charles Racky. Urbina should get it done in that fight, and I think he does.
Okay, so that takes us through, once again, the 6-fight main card on ESPN Plus. But if you want a little bit of action earlier in the day, you're fiending for it, some Saturday afternoon fights. There is a good prelim here. Molly McCann taking on Diana Delbita, and there's some interesting circumstances around both fighters here. We're seeing Molly McCann at strawweight for the first time in the UFC. What were your thoughts on this matchup at 115 pounds? And then you see the odds there, minus 275 in McCann's favor.
You know, sometimes fighters think they're going to reinvigorate their career by dropping weight classes. That doesn't change your skill. And she's fighting someone in Diana Belbita who I think is tough. You know, I know that McCann won the first time, but I think between the two, Belbita has actually improved, evolved, everything between the two. And we've seen Molly McCann. We know how you beat her. You take her down, you put her on her back. She gets subbed. That's how she's lost her last 2 fights. Granted, to submission artists maybe better than Diana, who does have 4 submission wins herself. The interesting thing to me is that Belbita talked about possibly retiring after her last loss. She was going through the motions, but I kind of picture it going like this. You know, Sean Shelby calls her. She goes, I think I'm retiring. Oh, I was going to give you Molly McCann. Oh, I'm in. And Brett, I got to be honest here. I can't bet on Molly McCann. As much as she's cool, fun, 2-1 favorite, no way. I'm going dog here. I'm going Belbita to get the upset. I just don't see how McCann could be this big of a favorite against anybody in any division in the UFC.
Yeah, it does seem like a little bit of inflated odds. And of course, a lot of that comes, I think, when you have a very popular fighter like Molly McCann, they go with the name value. But going down at 115, maybe this is one where you kind of see how she looks on the scale. I don't anticipate her to have any issues, but keep an eye on it. And then Ian likes a little bit of value there on the plus 225 with Belbita, even though she was talking about retiring not that long ago. Let's go through the rest of the prelims on ESPN Plus. Go ahead, rapid fire. Ian, where are we going on the prelims?
As mentioned, Belbita at plus 225. I think there's value there. Azat Maxim over Charles Johnson. That's also going to be our prop of the night for him to win by decision. Look, Johnson, we've seen this time and time again. He doesn't fight smart. He doesn't defend the takedowns well. I think Maxim's a true rising prospect here. Let's get him and let's get that prop of the night. Next one, Themba Gorimbo against Pete Rodriguez. This is another one for Themba. I think he can be good. I think these odds are a little pushed because of his story with Dwayne Johnson. I'm going Pete Rodriguez, who's an absolute dog, can throw hands if he lands one. Another underdog in Blake Builder. I think that line's so close. I think the value's on him. He's the better, well-rounded fighter. Stoliarenko, Markel Medeiros, and last but not least, we're going to go with the debut of the Contender Series. Thomas Peterson, I think his wrestling gets it done over Jamal Pose.
All right, let's keep the train rolling and hit the Parker's parlay at this UFC Fight Night here at the Apex.
At plus 172, give me Natalia Silva. Let's go Gilbert Urbina, and let's go Azat Maxim. These lines keep going up, so I would get this in now. You're getting a good number on these three favorites. I think these three sweep. I think even 2 out of 3 should get it done inside the distance. Let's hit that parlay this week.
All right, plus 170 on the parlay. What about best bets for Saturday?
This was an interesting card, and I really had some fun here. So for the main event, I'm doing 2 bets. We're going to go Imavov, because I do think he gets it done. I also like over 2.5 rounds. We've done this twice before. It's not the most conventional way to do things, but I do think both plays hit. We're going to go Renato Moicano, Brown Salikov, over 2.5 rounds. Natalia Silva, I'm taking the minus 3.5. I think she gets it done inside. If not, I think she can sweep on the cards. I think she is a true future champion of this division. And last but not least, give me the dog and Mahmoud Muradov. He's fought better competition. He's very dangerous in the first 2 rounds. He's shown an improvement in his cardio. I think if this fight stays on the feet, I think he can get it done.
Last order of business, of course, is the long shot parlay. Let's hit it this weekend. What do we got on it?
We missed it last week by a split decision on Barrial because we had Pennington, we had Dracus du Plessis. This week, Murdoch, Belbita, and Builder. It's a pretty decent number. I think, look, 2 out of the 3 are almost even money plays. I think all 3 are live. I would love to start the year in the first quarter with hitting this long shot parlay. Brett, let's go.
That would be so fantastic. And thank you so much, guys, for watching UFC Best Bets. Thank you for putting up with myself and Ian Parker. Hopefully, we always give you some great gambling perspective. And of course, when you're watching this show, you don't want to just see 2 talking heads the whole time. You want to see all the graphics. You want to see the photos. And that comes from our boy, Patrick, who we lovingly refer to as PDF. There he is right there. What a handsome guy sitting next to Demetrius Johnson. This is his final appearance on Best Bets. He is moving on to bigger and better things at the ESPN platform. We will miss him and wish him very well. You can continue to see his work on all of the ESPN shows. Thank you very much, Patrick, PDF. We've enjoyed having you here on Best Bets. That is it for the show. It's a UFC Fight Night card, prelims at 4 Eastern, main card at 7 Eastern. You can get 6 fights on that 7 Eastern main card on ESPN Plus. Gave you a lot of good information, a lot of good bets here from me and Parker. Hopefully we hit that long shot parlay and absolutely everything else to get February off to a good start. Thank you for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next week.